Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Mr. Bravo's workshop. It's been many hours since I painted that white strip on and I've left it for quite a long time and I'd really like to get back in and do some work to it. So I think what I'm going to do now is get some 1mm line. The 1mm line is for this water line here. I only came up with that when I was actually having a good look at the picture for this, and it does appear to be a white waterline on a black ship, whereas I suppose on a black ship, on a red ship, you have a black waterline. So yeah, anyway. So what we're going to do now is try and overlap some white line on top of this and see how we go. So that's where I'm at right now. So there's our sub kind of in position, and we know we need to come back somewhere very close to this rear fin, and then on the other side over here we have somewhere, actually it goes over this section here. Now I'm not too worried about past there or even this side past here, because I can fix them up pretty good. I'm just worried about pretty much just dropping the line down. It's a matter of making it nice and tight across here. The sub is set up on its stand, so it's not going to go nowhere. And then you just make slight adjustments left or right, put a little bit of tension on it, and then when you're ready, drop it down. Of course, looking down the ship is a lot better. So if you have a second set of eyes, it's always better, but we know it's right next to the rear fin, and I know it's over that, so it's really not going to be that hard to place this. Not saying it's going to be easy, but it's not going to be that hard either. I will slightly turn it, if I can. To try and get me a bit more of a drop down on top. And I think we're ready there. So there's the tail on the back end. So we pretty much need to go right onto the tail, and the other end, like I said, it's just there's that sort of door there or porthole or something, and like I said, as long as we can drop past that, we can always just lift the end up and just sort of work that around a bit, because I do believe the end is not one piece. I don't think so. I think it's actually multiple pieces, which causes some challenges anyway, but we can work on just one end. So here we go. So I have some 1mm Tamiya tape. So you and I are going to both do this together. As hard as it is, it's okay. Again, we don't care, we've got a little extra overhanging. Now, if I bump the camera, I'm very sorry. Now, I can already see it's not going to allow us to go over that like that. Well, not by the picture, because it actually doesn't work out. So there's that line in the middle of the hull there. We do have to kind of stay accurate to that. We stay over the porthole and the back. Oh, actually, maybe it's the other one. Did I possibly put the white line on the wrong way? No. Maybe. This is not going to work. This is not going to work. We need to change where I need to put some more white on the back. That's not going to work. I'm going to try and attempt to show you what happened. So there's the ship with the hull sort of sitting upwards, and we have it rolled to its side, and very clearly it states to go to the end of the first fin. Well, the end of the first fin, yeah, but it just doesn't work. So if I get some string, and I'll show you what I mean on that angle. I brought this string a little while ago thinking it'll come in handy for something, and sure enough it has. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend like this is a masking tape, and this time it won't stick. So we want to go over the hole and back that way. Oh, the problem is it'll work if we go above it. Because if we go in line with that front hole and back to there, the line is not equal through the center. You've got this center line here, so we need to stay accurately close with that. So we're over the first porthole, which kind of puts us, so we either have to raise the tape or we have to lower it. It is only 1mm line, so if we go just above the door, just above the front port, and over that middle section there, we'll probably still catch that back line. And I think that's what we're going to do. It's not quite even, but it's not that bad either. I think that's our best bet. So there it is across the middle line. So we're going to be just above, up the top, and we'll be just on the fin at the rear, which is what we want. And we'll be in line through that center hole there. Okay, let's try this one more time. So I have the tape. We do know this time, and I can see the shadow now. I put a light above, so I can technically see how close I am to the sub. I call it a ship, but so I'm going to say about there. And somewhere about there. Now, I'm going to come around the back side now. I'm pretty happy with that line. Looks like it drops it over a thing here. That's okay. Now, let me have a look at the back line, what I can do here. Let's even just raise it just a fraction and bring that line back around. You know, so I'm just going to go and drop it on there, like that. And I think that is pretty good. So I'm just going to lift it just a fraction. Yeah, that's pretty good. I just think what we're going to do here, we're just going to roll that line around just a little slightly under the tail. Not worried about the front at all, because I can roll the front around while we're here. Push this line home all the way through, and there's our line. Now what we need to do is roll the ship over and repeat the same process. So I've just turned the ship around. Now I've got the sticky side on this side. Still got the light on. Now it did appear that we went through the middle of that one there. Ooh, don't do that. There we have it, pretty good. Again, we'll drop that line down, just feather it down. It might not be all the way down. Once you tap it down, now we'll work it out. And we can rework the front and rear ones. So that's how we got that line. So there's how the end of the tape wound up. What you want to do now, I know my hands are in the way just for a second, because we don't really want these two touching. Not if you can help it. I can already tell they're very, very close to being in line. So I'm going to cut this one. Yeah, that's good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this up around more for your angle. So there's the line on one side of the hub, or the hull of the submarine ship. And there is the other, and I can tell you they are identical right through the ship. So we did very well on the hardest part. Now we just have to fix the nose up. So I'm going to attempt to try and do this nose while on camera. So the first thing we're going to do is put you exactly in the right line. So I think somewhere about there. I do know it looks like the lines are sort of pointing down like this, but they're not. So what we're going to rely on here we need to keep it in line and kind of come around like that. Now, this is a 1mm tape, so it should, by rights, roll around. How's that? And we want the other one to kind of roll around this way. Now we can work them a little bit backwards and forwards, doesn't really matter. What we don't want though, we don't want them getting stuck like that. So if I now bring you back around the front, I am moving the camera on a stand, so it's a little bit jittery. So there's our line, and you've got to kind of bring it around, matching over each other. Now, if I'm looking at this line, I'm going to say I am just down a little bit. So I think we need to come up, there's a few bubbles up here, and I think we need to be just under the bubble there. So I'm going to remove that tape. That's the beauty of leaving it overhanging. Now we know exactly where to move it to. We'll come back around over that line and back around the front. So I'm now saying that's the new line. So if you come back, it's not bad. So now we'll undo the bottom one and we'll try and match that and come back. So we want this one just under this one. This one almost wants to come straight back and go right back into that other one. So maybe just for a second I will push this one downwards, just like that, just to get it out the way. What you don't want is you don't want the tape to start twisting up on itself and getting all mucked up and just... So we need the sub to be nice and straight, a little bit of tension on it, rolling it back around, aiming for the original tape, like that. Yeah, it's pretty good. So this side, Could be just raised just a fraction just here. So now we know exactly where we need to roll it around the front there. Pretty happy with that. We're going to come off. Raise it just a fraction. Come back around the front like that. How is that? Oh yes, that's much better, that side. Now the other side. Technically, we now know the line up here, so we're happy with this line. Let's just tap it down. I know we are putting tape on a corner, but it's only 1mm line, so it should handle the corner. Let's see how we go this way. Pretty good. I almost think we need to cut that line off there now and bring this one back around to match it. Let's try and get this one just out of the way a bit. Just like that. Now, what we'll do, that's it. So what we'll also do is send him home. Yep, that's nice. Was he a little down? Let me have a look. Could be just a little down. I need yeah, across the front, around, and like that. So I think we're good there. I do need my tweed. I'm just going to lift that other tape just a fraction. All right. We know he's good up until there. Now, so I'm going to get down right in front of the nose. I'm looking just above the camera, straight through at the line. We may even need to chop a bit more of that line off. Let's try and do that. Let's fix that line up. Yeah, that's good. Let's bring that line back around, and catch it. Now you noticed I sort of just put my nail on it there just to catch there, because we're going to chop that last bit off. The more you got overhanging, the more it could be out. Now the submarine is on a bit of an angle. Let's pick it up. Not bad. Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, very happy with that line. Just needs a bit of a trim. So there's the submarine sideways and the line. And let's try and zoom in a bit more on the front. Now, just off camera, I went around and pretty much really made sure this line was on all the way to the back fin. And because the line is coming over a corner, I nudged all the little pieces down on my nail just around the edge there. Very happy with both corners. Looks really good. Now, but we're not finished yet. We need to do the rear end. So I'll turn the ship back around. So there's the left side of the submarine with the sticker on it all the way down. We know the front's good. We do have a bit of an issue down the back here though. So we have to kind of almost come back to where the fin is and do a very sharp turn with some tape. That's not an easy feat to do, but we're going to try. And we're going to do it on camera. So just while we're at it, there's also the other side of the line. But I am noticing those two tapes are touching, which I really don't want that to happen. So I'm going to have to very carefully try and separate them because tape sticks very well to tape. And right now, I got just enough to overhang and make a nice job of this. So I'm probably going to leave you right about there while I work above and see if I can fix this up. Now my hand's in the way, I am sorry. Okay, so we have separated the two lines, that's good. Let's take one out of the equation just for a second. So you can move either one around the corner, but you got to pick what's your best line. And you really want them both dead equal on the fin. You're pretty much right on the fin there in that camera view. It's pretty good. So what are we going to do? Let's try and... I'm going to say the left one is slightly out. How's that? Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. And the other one I'm pretty happy with. Now, we could do two things here. We could technically run this line all the way to the rear end of the ship and cross it over and no one would know the difference. And I actually think from this point onwards, it's probably not a bad idea. We are just below the fin. So the point of it is, they're saying that this fin's in the water and, you know, is it really going to matter? But you probably want to see me do the round bit. All right, okay. So the round bit. You would have to pull the tape fairly tight. You'd have to be fairly happy with it up until here. You would need to roll it around. You do not want the tape to twist. So what I'm saying is you kind of want that, but like that. But you're really asking for the tape to twist over. So I'm going to have a 5-minute break. I'm going to take this tape off my finger and I'm going to think about it. So I'm just having a drink. I have noticed it's a little warm in here today, so spring is definitely on its way, and our USA friends are starting to come into colder weather now. So now, where were we? So we had to end up going slightly above this line here. Oh, I'll try and take the glare out. And we ended up going halfway through this line here. So technically, we went a fraction higher than what it stated to keep underneath this line here. Now, by going through this, this says if I was to go through this, I'm going to end up through that. Now, that didn't happen. What's bothering me here is just keep that straight line. And remember, we did raise it. That would technically put this further up the fin, but that's not what the case is. This illustration is just a little bit out because we are slightly higher than this, but very close to all of these as it is. I'm actually very happy with the way that laid out. And instead of having an open one here, we're going to end up having an open one here. That's quite all right. Now, let's go to the middle of the page for a second. So according to this, that line comes along, wraps around the hull, comes up the fin and pretty much stops there. And same with the other side. Now, we were almost kind of like that anyway, with our line being a little higher than this one here, but yet we were still managing to come to the end. So what I think we're going to do is, because you're not going to round that sticker off. You could on a car with, you know, a bit of heat and this and that and just a knife, and you could do it, all right? But on a model, no, because the model's too light for one, so the more you move on the model, the more it wants to move. So I think what we should do is bring these lines back and just slightly crisscross them just at the end here, as much or as high as possible, and then we'll just nip it up. That's what I think we should do. So we're back at the ship. I'm just going to release that line that I took off before off my finger. And I think what we're going to do is I'm going to take this one up out of the way for a second. This one. If I can get that one out of the way, I'm going to be happy. Oh, sorry about that. So if I can get this line to come around a little bit like that, it's crisscrossing. And now that that one's kind of out the way, although I'll just work it just a little more. And then we can kind of grab this one. Like that. Yeah, it's not bad. It'll need a little bit of work, but I think that's what we're going to have to do. If we just slightly crisscross it, which means we're just bringing the line back, the prop will still be in the water. And I think that works. That works to keep the original line nice and straight, which if you're doing lines, that's what you want. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fiddle with this last little bit here off camera, but you know exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be mucking around that line and just kind of sitting at home properly and just try and get that crisscross a little more directly at the rear. That's pretty good now, that crisscross. I may just squash that down now, trim that last little bit off with the knife, and we'll call it a day. Anyway, speaking of calling it a day, I think we've taken up an awful lot of time in this episode, but just like the hull on the HMS Queen Elizabeth, they are very important. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to leave it here, and I will finish off the last little bit just off camera, and then we'll come back on the next episode and continue on. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time. Bye.